you so much, Ann. I could not be more grateful to you once again for opening your beautiful home to me. And I also want to make sure that I'm thanking even all of the co-hosts, even those that even are not here today, but I want to thank you. Thank you so, so very much. Robert Hahn, and of course, Sally, who couldn't be with us. She's got bronchitis, right. But thank you, each and every one of you that, as Ann says, you're taking a few moments out of your busy, busy Saturdays, your busy weekends, to come just spend a little bit of time with me. As I say, just basically because I just hope that you hear my heart to serve. I am Congresswoman Lucy McBath. I currently represent Georgia's 7th Congressional District. I'll be jumping to another district, running for another district. I started in Georgia's 6th Congressional District. But even before that, I started in 2017 running for a House District seat. And then when it was, when people encouraged me to run for a federal seat, because it was impressed upon me that strategically, in a larger scale, saving more lives, running for a federal office, I would have the ability to really help impact federal gun safety legislation, which of course is what I really, really wanted to do in a broader way. So I represented Georgia's 6th Congressional District. That was the seat that was once held by Newt Gingrich. I was the first.
We're not applauding Newt, though.
We're
applauding the irony.
I was the first Democrat to hold that seat since 1979. Of course, the first minority in the history of Georgia to ever hold a seat. And really, really grateful to have held that seat. I ran against an NRA-backed opponent, Karen Handel.
Boo.
We won that race by 1 percentage point. And then in the second race against her, we expanded our percentage points up by 9 points. So if anything, that helped us to understand that change is coming to Georgia and transition is happening. Because we have actually done the work, and I'm going to go back and tell you a little bit more history about myself, but I will say, because we've worked diligently, and I'm very, very blessed to have a phenomenal staff, campaign staff, district office staff, DC staff, who really, really have helped me do what I believe and execute the vision that I truly believe God has given me the work to do. And so here we are now. Because we're doing the work, I have been gerrymandered a second time, and I am now running for Georgia's new 6th district. So I'm coming full circle, having started in the 6th district, gerrymandered, forced to run for the 7th district, which I now represent, and having been gerrymandered and deliberately targeted again, I am now running for the new 6th district. So, but I believe that a lot of, I think, what is happening to me, I believe that God knows what's happening. He sees and understands everything. I come from a family of, as I like to say, I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I was raised there. And I come from a family of, I like to say, you know, they were healthcare workers by day. My father was one of the first black dentists in the Chicago suburbs. My mother taught nursing. She was a registered nurse. Those were their day jobs. But at night, they were civil rights leaders and workers. My father was Illinois branch president of the NAACP, served on the executive board in Illinois for many, many years. And my mother opened our door to all of the volunteers and all of the workers and all of the civil rights leaders that would come to my house every single night. And they were, you know, organizing and getting ready for all the pickets and the boycotts and all the marches and all the rallies that I and my family participated in. I do say that, you know, I don't remember, but I was 3 years of age when I was in the stroller because my father was pushing me at the original March on Washington. Wow. So for me, this is coming full circle. The work that I am blessed to do now is in my DNA. I went off to college, majored in political science, Went off to Delta Airlines, became a flight attendant, you know, global carrier here. Delta Airlines, flew for 30 years. I thought that I would be retiring at Delta Airlines. I'm gonna be happy to say I'm 63 years of age. And I would, at 67. And at 67, I said I was gonna retire, but you know, God has other plans. So of course, I raised my son Jordan. I was really, really just grateful to have him. I am a woman who had a really, really hard time having a child. I am a woman who suffered from several miscarriages, a stillborn. So when my son Jordan was born, he was a miracle for us. And so at that time, as a flight attendant for Delta, I thought outside of being a flight attendant, the most important job I have is being Jordan's mother. And I took it very, very seriously. But I did become a single mom for many, many years. I chose to fly on the weekends so I could be home during the week. I homeschooled Jordan from 4th through 8th grades because I wanted to make sure that one parent was there all the time. Now, it wasn't that his father wasn't engaged and involved, but he was living in Jacksonville, Florida. So I knew I was the constant that he needed in his life. So I took very seriously my job of raising my son Jordan. In it was October of 2000, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And Jordan, of course, was too young at that time to understand Mommy was sick. I was diagnosed again with breast cancer in 2010, my second bout. At that time, Jordan was old enough as a teenager to understand that Mommy was sick. And as young children do, especially as teenagers, you know, they're unsure of themselves, they're unsure of their place in the world. Jordan was very anxious, but very angry and very afraid because he kept saying, Mom, what's going to happen to me if you die? Where am I going to go if you die? And I kept trying to reassure him, sweetie, Mommy's going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. You know, but if anything ever happens to me, you have a whole family and village, and your father will be with you, you'll be fine. But once Jordan's father and I began to recognize that he really was struggling with this, we determined that I had done all of the formal raising as his mother. I could not make him a man, and that we would go ahead and send him to Jacksonville, Florida, where his father would carry on making him a man while I was getting well here at Emory Winship, going back and forth for treatments. But the plan was that Jordan would come back after he finished high school. Well, Jordan never made it back. And I'm sure most of you know the story that November 23rd, 2012, my son Jordan, this is the day after Thanksgiving, my son Jordan and 3 of his friends were just simply going from one mall to the next. They were shopping on Black Friday. They stopped for all of 3.5 minutes at a convenience store gas station. That's okay. And within those 3.5 minutes, a man parks next to the boys on the passenger side, calls them gangbangers, calls them thugs, tells them to turn down their thug music. Within those 3.5 minutes, he starts a verbal altercation with the boys, in particular with my son Jordan. And Jordan, doing what we raised him to do, is to stand up and defend his right to exist as a black man. When you know others, your friends, need assistance, need someone to stand and defend them, stand up, speak out, and protect your friends and your family. Jordan simply said to Michael Dunn, we're not bothering you, man, leave us alone, just roll up your windows. Now, mind you, Michael Dunn had just watched 9 months earlier Trayvon Martin be gunned down, and that the killer used stand your ground. So Michael Dunn says, you can't talk to me that way. He takes his 9mm Glock gun out of his glove box. He takes a shooter stance and he shoots 10 rounds into the car. As the boys are trying to get out of the line of fire, they're driving out of the parking lot. Michael Dunn is there in his shooter stance, shooting at them as they are trying to get out of the parking lot. Unbeknownst to them, there was a homeless couple in their car. They were getting gas. They saw everything. They heard everything. They wrote down Michael Dunn's license plate on a brown paper bag and gave it to the convenience store clerk. Michael Dunn, as my son is lying in the car, 3 of those bullets hit him, and he's dying in the backseat of the car in his friend's arms. Michael Dunn and his girlfriend drive off. They act as if nothing has happened. They go back to their hotel. They park their car in the back of the hotel so nobody can see the license plate. They order a pizza. They walk their puppy Charlie. They make themselves a couple of stiff drinks and they go to bed. But that homeless couple turned that information in. The next morning, when Michael Dunn and his girlfriend get up and they see on the news that a young black male has been murdered at the convenience store gas station, his girlfriend says, "Take me home." They drive 170 miles back to Satellite Beach, Florida, and park their car in the garage and act as if nothing has happened. But they were apprehended there by police because of that homeless couple.
Wow.
It took us 2.5 years in court. 2.5 years in court to get convictions. Now, mind you, at that time, our case was basically one of, another big case that came right behind Trayvon Martin's case where a young black male had been murdered. We did get convictions on all counts, but it took us 2.5 years. The very first trial that we had, Michael Dunn was convicted on attempted murder on the other 3 boys in the car, even with all the witnesses, even the boys as witnesses in the car. Michael Dunn was convicted of attempted murder. There was a hung jury on my son's charges because 2 jurors determined that Michael Dunn was not going to be guilty. Now, we had the same attorneys that Trayvon Martin's family had. We said to them, we're going back to court. We're going to go back to court. And people kept saying, well, isn't it good enough? Michael Dunn's going to be sitting in prison for 90 years. And I said, I am grateful. I am grateful for those charges, but my son didn't deserve to die. And we're going to go back to court. And whether we win or we lose, Jordan will know that we stood for him, and we'll do whatever we can to get a conviction. Went back to court, and now Michael Dunn is sitting in prison in Oregon for life with no parole, plus an additional 90 years for the murder of my son and attempted murder on the other 3 boys. And at that time, we were the only national case in the country when there was a white male shooter on black males and convictions on all counts. And people said to me again, you should be really happy. You got justice. And I said, a small bit of justice, because there are so many more young men and women around this country that are dying every single day, and nobody knows their names. Nobody knows them outside of their communities and their families. And what is wrong with America? That we are turning a blind eye to this rampant culture of gun violence. The clergy was silent, our federal legislators were silent, and I thought, this is not America. We shouldn't be afraid to live in our own communities. We shouldn't be afraid to go anywhere. There's no safe space here in the United States. I don't care where you live. I don't care how well educated you are. I don't care whether you've been churched or not. It does not matter. There are no safe spaces, and I wanted to know why our federal legislators were not working on our behalf to keep our communities safe. Our children should not be afraid to go to school and sit in their classrooms. Our children should not have to go through the lockdown drills that they go through each and every time. It is traumatizing to them over and over and over again. Parkland happened, and I had enough. I absolutely had enough. I saw what happened with Newtown. That happened right after Jordan's murder, and I was in my own distress and my own pain. I couldn't do anything other than pray for those families because I was in my own. I was just in my own pain. And if you've never lost a child, you cannot imagine the pain that it causes your soul. But when Parkland happened, I was angry because I kept waiting for our federal legislators to do something about it. And it was like crickets, it was silent, there was silence. And I thought, I've had enough. I figured if nobody's gonna stand up, I'm a mom on a mission, and I don't want anyone else to be me, I'm gonna run for Congress. As far-fetched as that seemed to people all around me who told me that's unprecedented. Oh my gosh, wait till the numbers change. Oh, this is Georgia, we love our guns, Second Amendment. Don't you know you're a black woman running on guns? I'm like, surely I've known I'm black all my life. But no, who's gonna stand up? And I believe that rather than doing nothing, if I didn't even win, at least I would be elevating this policy agenda as something for people to go to the polls on. At least for you to exercise your voice and say, this is not right and our children deserve to be safe. At least if I was able to do that, then it was worth running. We ran. I told my story to people at their mailboxes. I told my story to people at their doorsteps. I told my story to people who would listen on the radio, and we won. And we won here in Ruby Red, Georgia, so things are changing. They are changing, but it's not enough. The threat that we're living under right now, I don't even need to tell you what's happening. You see it every single day. We don't have an expansion of Medicaid. There are millions of people living in this state that don't have access to affordable quality health care. That is their right to have that. That is their right. And it's the right of every woman in this room and all around this state to make their own health care choices. It's about health care. And no one in Washington, none of my colleagues, none of us should be telling a woman what she needs to do with her body.
Yes.
Woo! And her doctor and her family and her loved ones. Voting rights is on the line. I'm the poster child for gerrymandering. And I will probably be gerrymandered again because we're doing the work. To date, I've helped to pass the most comprehensive gun safety legislation this country's seen in 30 years. And that was my mission to go to Congress and make sure that you can live safely in your communities and in your homes, and our children can be safe in their schools. I helped Senator Warnock pass the reduction in the cost of insulin to $35 out of pocket for all of the people in this country that actually have insurance, and we're still working on those that don't have insurance. But they should not be suffering. They should not be rationing a life-saving drug that they need to survive. And so we're just getting started. I've passed legislation to help our veterans that are in crisis. I've passed legislation to help children that need to be able to, they need to be able to pay for their education. We're doing really, really good work, and I believe that is the reason why I'm being targeted again and again and again and again. To date, I have passed 10 standing laws in 5 years. Wow. This is my 6th year. Wow. That's not even talking about the work, the language, a lot of the work that I've done that's been passed in packages, COVID, American Rescue Plan, infrastructure law, all of those things. And so I guess maybe I'm a threat. Maybe I'm a threat to the GOP. But if you call doing the work and getting something done and being about the people and protecting and serving the people in your community, then let me be the threat. I'm a mom on a mission. And I see my work as a mom. I want to keep you safe. I want to keep you healthy. I want to make sure our children are educated. That's the least that you should expect from your representatives. We represent you. You send us to serve your interests. And if any of us is there for any other reason, we shouldn't be there. So critically, make sure that you're really paying attention to who you vote for. Make sure that you're voting out the people who do not have your best interests. We are your public servants. And that means we have to listen and pay attention to what's important to you, and that means that's at the ballot box. So we know so much is at stake right now. I know you've heard us say over and over again, each vote is the most consequential. Each election is the most consequential. And they have been for each and every one of those times. But right now, this election, I cannot impress upon you enough. What you see, what you read in the media, you don't even know half of what we're dealing with up there. We are working as hard as we can, the Democratic caucus, to hold the wolves at bay. If we do not hold the White House, if we cannot hold the Senate, if we cannot regain the House again, the democracy that we have right now, you may never see again. You may never see again. So I want to thank you for being on the front lines. Whatever way that you are able to impress upon your community, whatever way you have influence, thank you for doing that, because it's you that have made the difference. You here in Georgia, the Democratic Party, we're the ones that put the Biden-Harris team in the White House. You did that by your vote. You did that, and we can do this again. We don't have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. We have to do this again. There's so much that is at stake. And that's the reason why I want to go back, because there's a whole lot more work to do. And as I said, we are just holding the wolves at bay. So I want to thank you so much for really hearing my heart. I want to thank you for not only helping to support me, but for every candidate that you support up and down the ballot, whether it be a municipal race, state race, federal race. Thank you. School superintendent, whatever it is, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You have done that. You have helped us hold the line in Washington, and we need you to do it again. So thank you for hearing my heart. They're coming after me again. I would love to have your financial assistance, and I promise I will not give up. I will not give in. I'm a mom on a mission to care for you, my family.